Hello everybody, this is Brittney and Byron, and you're listening to Dirty Laundry with B&B, a podcast about real, relatable relationships.
Transparency at its finest, we air it out and clear it up, offering couples and those seeking healthy relationships a safe, inclusive space to open the vents and find resolve.
Hello, Dirty Laundry listeners.
What's up, people?
Welcome to season 3, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
40 episodes deep.
40 episodes deep. Here we are. What Jay-Z say? 40-40 club. Here we are.
That's
we done made
right.
it. Yeah.
We have made it. We have arrived. Well, not arrived. We've never arrived.
Yeah.
But man, it has been such a journey and a blessing doing this podcast. All the people we've had on it. It's been amazing.
Yeah, we've had so many supportive listeners and then also supportive guests. I mean, I know it's really hard to get on here and speak truths about what you've experienced throughout your relationship and to share those things. It's kind of, being naked in the shower, if you will, being vulnerable and providing some of your input to the masses, really. So we just want to say thank you for all the guests who have come through. Also, thank you to all of the listeners who've been supporting us. We've been having so much fun. I mean, we hesitated for so long to actually make this thing start. And then here we are, 40 episodes later, almost 2 years down the road, starting a whole new season. This is crazy.
And thank you for just allowing us to share our life and our marriage and our love with you all, because we're out here in the trenches together. You know, we all out here trying to make it through and have a healthy, strong, happy, and enduring love where everyone feels fulfilled, in their marriage, and they can be happy in their choices as a couple. And so it's been really fun to me diving through and listening to other people's situations and how they handle them. And all of the episodes have been very specific. And I really like some of the topics we talked about.
Yeah, everyone wants to feel heard and seen and supported. And so I hope that this platform has been that for so many people out there, because I know it's been that for me also. And again, when we have guests coming on and they provide us with those fresh new perspectives, it kind of helps us recalibrate what we have going on inside of our home too. So we just really, really enjoy doing this. It's been a passion of ours. And so here we are, season 3. Yeah. So we kind of scrolled through all the different episodes we had and reflected on some of the things that we kind of went through and the things that we discussed on the podcast. What are your thoughts on some of those episodes?
Well, first, the obvious thought is I was laughing because from where we started with our audio and our visuals, it's so basic, and we've grown so much just on our knowledge and learning how to do a podcast. The information was still solid in my opinion, but just that piece alone. But also going back, the subjects are still relevant. I like to re-listen to them and hear what other married couples say about it, because I'm like, man, it's so insightful, and I love hearing what they have to say, or I forget, believe it or not. So what about you?
Yeah, I agree with you. When you kind of rewind a little bit and look at some of our early episodes, the quality isn't quite there as far as the audio is there. We had zero visuals, right? We just had a couple of pictures, and then we had, guests and supporters and listeners ask for us to start doing the videos and posting on YouTube. So we started doing that also. But like you said, what was most important is the content. And I think that's what kind of made us hesitate in launching the podcast, was being so concerned about the technological piece of it.
Right.
Because there's so many things. There's so many people that have been doing it for years, and you're comparing your today with others tomorrow's. And it's just you just can't do that, right? So you have to slow down and just start from where you're at, right? Be that rose and grow from your concrete, if you will. So there's that. But then also, I really like the episode about racking and stacking and priorities. And coming up next week, we'll be speaking with Meyer and his wife Tiana about priorities. But I really like that episode, and I really like the exercise that we do during that episode. So if you haven't looked at that, look at the rack and stack priorities episode. I really enjoy that, because it makes you think about what's most important to you as an individual, and then you share that with your spouse, and you all come up collectively with what is important for you in your relationship.
I love that. And I love that, we need to go back and redo it again, because I love the breakdown of rack and stack method. Sure. I know we'll dive into that next week. But one of my favorite episodes is, I have a couple here. Okay, let's be honest. But one of my top ones are the phases of love. That was, curated by Dirty Laundry, and it's our interpretation of love and the phases of it. And I really enjoy the breakdown of it, and we really lean into the enduring phase. The LOVE is, and the E is enduring, and I just think that's such a thing that we have to continue to work on
Yeah.
you get out of the lust phase and, the observation, and there's all those phases are important and they can all come in different variations.
Yeah.
But the question we ask on that episode is love enough? And
Mm.
Byron and I both agree in the end
Yeah.
that love, in fact, isn't enough.
It's not.
And so I really like that episode because I think people may feel that, I have love for them and we can make it through anything because I love them.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of people that love somebody and don't even like them.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
sometimes we got some family members like that. You'd be like, I love you, but
I
you
ain't
just
fooling
get on my
with you right
nerves.
now.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's not us though. I mean, we're just thinking some
Yes,
families out
exactly,
there. Yeah.
exactly.
No, but for real, I agree. I really like that episode also, and that's just us trying to put a name on what we think love is. I mean, love can be a variation of love can have a variation of definitions for people,
Yes.
and it can mean different things for different individuals. But for us, that is us trying to define what love means to us. And again, love is not cyclical.
That's right.
It is very complex, and it comes in and out and ebbs and flows. And you have to have work to stay in love with someone. And
Yes, you're absolutely right because there are so many phases of it. So what's another episode that you felt had it keeps reoccurring or something that really stuck with you that's memorable to you?
I really like the episode with Stephanie and Marlon where we talk about addiction, and it was just a great example of how you can get through anything with your partner. And if they can get through that, it just provided me with so much encouragement and understanding that things that are unanticipated can happen in your life at any moment. But you have to be honest with self and try to get over those things, and then be open and honest with your partner about what that looks like too. And so their story is just so inspiring because as they both went through addiction and were able to overcome those and still battling through it till this day, they had each other to lean on and work through those troubling times. So I really like that episode because it just solidifies the point of having someone there with you that you're going through the trenches with. Like, I chose you to go through the ups and downs with in life. And yeah, I just appreciate them sharing their story with us.
That episode is such a powerful episode.
Yeah.
I think Steph and Marlon are probably one of the only, I won't say the only couples, but one of the realest couples that came on Dirty Laundry of all time.
Yeah.
I think they gave us their truth and they didn't sugarcoat a thing. And that is like the foundation of Dirty Laundry. But I just appreciated their honesty. If you did not listen to that episode, it talks about addiction and being in a couple. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It'll bring you to tears, but it is so powerful. And it kind of makes you, it kind of like squanders every issue that you may think you have in your marriage because you're like, if they can get through that, man, we can get through anything.
I mean, perception is reality. And so we could be, getting upset with each other about who's going to take the kids to school today. And then that's just an argument that we have for the remainder of the week. But when you listen to something like that, something so dire, something so deep, it makes your problem seem so trivial. And sometimes you need that reality check. You need someone to show you, hey, I understand you and I validate, your feelings about this, but trust me when I tell you that the others are going through a lot worse than what you are. So be grateful for those challenging moments that you have with each other, because it does make you as a person in your relationship better, and it strengthens your bond with your partner. So be grateful for what you have with your significant other for sure.
Yes. They say like if there was a pile of problems and you threw yours in it, you'd see other people's, you'd be like, let me get my problem back real quick.
I want that back.
Because there's a lot more going on. And their journey and them talking about how they detox at home together is powerful. When I say it'll change your perspective on what people can make it through, it absolutely will. And just to like give you a current up to date, they are still doing great.
Yeah.
They just bought a new home and they're just prospering. I'm just so happy and proud of them.
Facts.
Yeah. I have another one.
Okay.
One of my other favorite ones. It's our very first interview. And so if you listen to it, it's almost like so funny because you can hear kids in the background. But it was with Faven and Lauren.
Yeah.
And we talked about roles in marriages.
Yeah.
And while we were still very new in interviewing in that, all that information was so powerful.
Yeah.
And, Faven being from another country and then coming to America and her perspective on roles and even American roles
Yeah.
was very interesting to me. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was. It had a really unique flow to it because Faven coming from another country, having to compare what her and her culture believed roles were for the wife and the husband in the marriage, and having to kind of try to translate that into our culture here in America. But it was very interesting to see how, she transitioned from what she believed her role would be as a wife when she was younger to what it is now. And then Lawrence also like being a professional athlete,
True.
and having expectations of his wife and different needs of his wife because he's on the road, because he's so busy, because he's out there, right? And so that conflict could create some conflict within their relationship. So them kind of showing how they orchestrated understanding with one another and communication with one another to not necessarily avoid, but to get through some of those conflicts with one another was very, very powerful. So I agree.
It was. And we try to get them back on here recently. They've been so busy as we all are in life, so we understand. But we would love to have them back on. Because I think, first of all, you could dive into roles all day.
For sure.
I mean, in our household, we talk about on that episode specifically, we don't necessarily have traditional roles. There are some things that we do that are traditional. And this is, again, not a bash on folks that do want to do traditional roles.
Yeah.
The key that we kind of hone in on that episode, though, is that you should probably have some type of conversation if you have an expectation of a role.
Right.
So I like talking about that. And,
And that's in one of our episodes. We talk about the importance of expectation management and communicating with your partner what you would like to see them do and or not do. And that's a fair conversation to have. And so we did struggle with that. Brittney and I did early in our marriage because I do come from more of a traditional roles type background. And so when I entered our marriage, that is just what I expected without having any type of conversation. But nowadays, I don't want to speak for everyone, but for us in our relationship, Brittney works just as much as I work. Right. She's invested in her community just as much as I'm invested in our communities. Things at the house still need to be accomplished. So for us, we have to try to balance what some of those things look like. So sometimes she's taking out the trash, and sometimes I'm doing the dishes, and sometimes she's taking the boys to sports, and sometimes I'm doing
Cooking
laundry,
dinner,
right? Cooking dinner. So it just depends on what you can do in your relationship, what space and time you have to share with one another. But it starts with a conversation to make sure that expectations are the same on both sides of the aisle.
That's so true. And I love that episode. I love diving into roles, especially because we talk about it on there, but we were both raised with traditional roles. And it's funny because Byron's like, I was more of a traditionalist. I'm actually kind of not. And I think it's because my dad was so traditional. He was like, he wanted my mom to wear heels all the time and be dressed and have long hair. He had all these rules, and I'm like, oh my God, that's too much. First of all, I'm going to be in my gym clothes, just so you know, off top. Y'all see me on here dressed up. Any other time I'm working out.
85% of the time she got gym clothes on.
Exactly.
So hey, listen, I ain't mad at it though.
Appreciate it, Dave. If y'all follow me on my page, y'all know I be working out. Yeah. So, but I think roles are kind of old school, and they were created in a older time, and they work for some folks and they don't for others. Actually, all roles work for everyone. We just may not put titles on them, and you may not call it a role, but there's kind of a general consensus or, as you call it, battle rhythm that's happening in your household.
Yeah. So roles are still apparent, right? Roles still happen today in society and in different people's relationships. I just think that the roles are a little bit more fluid now.
Definitely.
Right? So, I mean, just like when you think about any team, you have your star players and then you have role players, but their roles just depends on their abilities. So same thing happens in your relationship. Each of you are a role player in executing a successful marriage, but the type of role that you have in your relationship depends on your capability and depends on the communication that you're having with your partner. So I think what we were trying to tackle in that episode was that roles are not the same for everyone.
Correct.
And people should be okay with that.
And there shouldn't be an expectation. Yes, absolutely.
For sure.
Okay, so what do you think the episode is that you were most honest or most heartfelt for you?
Shoot, man. So I was gonna go in a different direction, but since you want to ask that, no, that's cool. I think the one that I think pulled on my heartstrings the most was the one when we were talking about our miscarriage. And everything and stuff, Tupac. No, that one was really hard for me because, whenever I'd always had this dream of having a huge family and having, 5 kids and a happy wife and the picket fence and a dog and all that. We almost there, except for the 5 kids. But
It's not gonna happen.
but we just, I wanted a large family. And so when we started having trouble having children, it changed that course, if you will. And so I had to learn to adapt and remove from my mind like that dream of having a large family, to being content and being happy with limitation that God put on your body and on our relationship. And so that was a very, very difficult episode for me, for us. I don't want to just speak for you, but for us, I think it was a hard one. So I think in that episode, that is where I think I spilled most of how I felt as a man, and me, man, not everyone, man, but for me, man, because I don't often express my emotions or show, especially on my face, how I'm truly feeling about things. And so that was difficult for me to navigate, because that was a whole nother part of life where I was forced into a space where I did have to express how I felt about that situation, so that way you can be catapulted through your healing process.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you?
I was going to say the exact same
Were you?
episode.
Okay.
Not so much that, well, no, it was very true. I've tried to be always truthful on here, but most heartfelt, I think whenever we did talk about our difficulty having children, that was our first time sharing that story. So everybody that heard it real time and watched it, there are some people in our family, I have friends, I was very quiet about it. I don't know if I felt ashamed, or I just didn't, frustrated, or didn't want to share because of the lack of excitement, because I was afraid I would lose it. So that whole episode I'm glad that we captured that in the moment, those real feelings of how we felt about it, because there are a lot of people that go through it. We are not the only ones. We are not exempt from feeling all the same feelings, and we never shared it.
Yeah.
I mean, we did amongst us in our house, but we've never went out and talked to anybody about it or told people really. We just kind of say, yeah, we had trouble having children. That was kind of our response. And so I think it was important for us to share that as we, focus on real, relatable relationships. That's as real as it gets. And that was really hard, dark period for our marriage. And I do think that's a good episode. One of the most heartfelt, where we really share something with you all that we don't share with everyone.
Yeah. And I think it helped us continue to get through, though. I mean, when you experience things like a miscarriage or a death in the family, it's hard to get over. And you don't just put a Band-Aid over it and keep it moving. You're going to have to continue to have these types of conversations to continue to heal. And so I think that helped us through that process still. Yeah, we're still, it's hard to not think about that, but we're at a point where our boys are older and we're extremely excited and happy about where we are as a family. But yeah, when you look back at that time, it was tough. It was really hard.
It was really hard. And we learned from it, we grew from it, and it made us stronger. But, not everyone can grow from those situations. They grow apart. And so I just am glad that, thankful that we did and we were able to get through it. So
that's a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another episode that I really liked, and it was less about us, it was more about you, the listener. And we kind of invited technology into that episode. And that's when we're talking about the opportunities and the challenges of online dating with Miss Andrea McGinty.
Yes, she was good.
Yeah,
she was good.
She is just a straight vibe. Her energy is so loud, right? And that's not her being over the top. That's just her being excited and being just a light on our podcast. And I just appreciated her coming on here. And so she is just an expert in adult seniors, right, dating and what that process looks like. And she had talked about how hard it was for individuals to move from an analog type dating setting where you're meeting people face to face to the technology or the technicals type dating where you're going online. And so think about or imagine how hard that would be for your parents or for your grandparents to get online and start dating other people that you've never met before, when you're used to getting that old malt shake and doing the little jig and stuff back in the day at the little sock hops and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So my parents didn't do no sock hops. I just seen it on TV.
Our grandparents.
But I just think it's funny that they have to transition like that. But she does a great job of providing folks with a process and what that looks like in order for you to successfully date and find your match via technology. And so it was very eye-opening and novel for her to express how she did that. So she's and also, I mean, for y'all that are small business owners and want to be some type of creator, like, you got to see that episode, because she is super genuine and provides us all the tea on how to make all that stuff work.
I agree. And what I love about Andrea too is, we're a relationship podcast. And so we were like, okay, well, you do more dating and you're kind of doing the beginning process. We're more like in the trenches. And she was like, well, honey, like, you never know if something's going to happen. She's like, I have a good friend that was married for 30 something years and her husband passed away.
Yeah.
And that her book that she wrote, which she talks about on the podcast, focuses on dating after 50. And, she gave it to her friend and was kind of like inspired to give it to her.
Yeah.
And her friend was like, oh, I'm never going to date anyone. And then years went on and she was like, well, I wrote a book.
Right.
Here it is. You can, navigate this world that sometimes you don't anticipate wanting or needing to navigate that. You're like, I'm never going to date anyone again. I'm good. You just never know.
Yeah.
And there's experts. She's an expert out there that can help, for young people. She deals with like NFL players. So she has a very like high profile, but like quiet. Like she doesn't obviously put that in their profile. She's so awesome. Watch the episode. You will learn all about her and all the tricks that she has for online dating if you are in the dating life or looking to be in the dating life. Okay, I think it's my last one. My other favorite one was Military on a Mission. I love, when Sarah and Dave are on there because one, it's very relatable to me and Byron. Our listeners know that we both served in the United States Air Force. Byron is still active duty. And so talking to them and having that relatable piece with them and some of the realness, they dealt with so many deployments, so much difficulties. I mean, they had a baby. I got to be there when her husband was deployed. He was on a screen on an iPad, you know, like the things they endured and they went through, and they're still surviving 4 kids later.
Yeah. Still doing their thing and looking young as can be. I don't know how they do it, but they still got a hairline and hair is as dark as can be.
I know. They just look like they're prospering.
Making it look easy. What's crazy about our show is that we'll invite families and couples on to the show, and we always lead with, tell us your love story. And I will tell you that when we brought them onto the show, we just knew it was going to be nothing but glitz, glam, unicorns, right? But as we started asking the questions, we learned that they had so much that they had to overcome. So that just made me think about how you just never know what people are going through. And I don't want to say that always what you see on social media is a facade, but most of the time it doesn't give the 100% truth.
Right.
Not that you have to provide the world with what you have going on, but it was just onerous of them to provide us with the things that they were truly going through, the things that they had experienced, to show us that, hey, this is what we look like, but you all aren't the only ones that are going through things.
Right.
We are as well. And matter of fact, this is how we were able to traverse those things. And so it was super inspiring, and we love them. We hope to have them on too, just have like a little recap episode. But yes, I agree, that was such a great episode. And it was also unique again because it's not just relationship based, but it also talked about the perspective from a military standpoint and what that looks like, because you have to be responsible for not only your relationship, but then also your service to your country. And both of them don't always agree.
Right.
One has authority on the other sometimes. And so how do we overcome those things? So such a great conversation on how they were able to navigate and continue to navigate the military career within their relationship.
Yes, and I loved it. I loved their honesty. I love how they go through and talk about how they almost threw in the towel. And Sarah was like, I'm done. I'm going to walk away. And how they revived their marriage and the counseling and the things that they went through and the retreats. And so I really loved that part of it. I love a good success story because marriage is not easy. Probably won't be their last issue. Won't be our last. It'll be issues always. They're going to be different not phases, I don't want to use the word phases, but different seasons of marriage. So man, so many good episodes over the past 2 seasons, and I'm excited for what season 3 is going to be. We have some great people already lined up for season 3 that I've been asking to be on the show, so that means a lot to us. And if you have something that you want and you're like, hey, I would love to share my story, message us, DM us. Our email, it's down below. Like, let us know. We would love to have you on. And as long as you're going to be truthful and air it out, Yeah,
100%. Yeah, we always go through cycles, and we're going to accept your laundry as it is. It's not that we're going to help you wash it up and clean it, but if you're ready to air it out, hey, this is what this platform is for. But I agree. I mean, we have so much more in store. We only have so much knowledge in our brains, and we've only experienced so much. So it's you, your support, your questions, and our guest support, and their perspectives that makes our show what it is. So we just want to continue to provide y'all our service to you because it is a passion of ours, but super looking forward to our guests that we're going to be having on. I mean, we have podcast owners, we have business owners, we have authors coming, we have psychologists coming. I mean, we already have some on the book, so we're just excited. I think our next 3 months are booked out already,
Yes, they
which
are.
is awesome.
They
So
are.
please continue to provide us with your input. And again, if you want to be a part of this show, if you want to be a part of our community, just let us know, and we'd be more than happy to have you on our show.
Definitely. I'm so excited. And I
Yeah.
just want to, thank all of our listeners again for the support. If you haven't listened to our very first few episodes, now you got to go back and listen so you can give yourself a
For sure.
laugh. But
Yeah.
also you can learn us, and we tell our story. I know we tell it throughout these seasons, but we really dive into how we met and, how we decided to get this podcast started. So if you're curious and you want to know how did this all begin, to young teenagers that, didn't know that this is where we'd be today, and so it's just a really, really cool opportunity to be able to share this with everyone. So we appreciate you.
No doubt. Hey, again, Dirty Laundry with B&B. We're here to talk about transparency, open communication, and just being open and honest about you and your relationship. So please continue to be you, be blessed, and just be. We out.
I'm blessed to be me. Blessed to be